Your retention graph is probably losing viewers in 3 predictable zones. Altogether, they can look like one unavoidable decline, but they're actually 3 different problems, and each one has a specific edit that you can use to fix it. So give me about 10 minutes and I'll show you where each drop happens, how to spot it in your own graph, and the simple move that corrects it. These are small, repeatable fixes that you can use on every upload. One of these things is actually the opposite of what creators are generally told to do, and it happens to be the one that's costing you the most views. So here's the common advice. Hook hard in the first 5 seconds, never stop simulating, jump cut everything, and your retention graph still looks like a cliff. That advice is half wrong. Editors for some of the biggest channels on YouTube these days aren't trying to hijack you anymore. Now they invite you in. Keeping retention doesn't mean more stimulation. It's about making the right move in the right spot. And you don't have to guess where that spot is. Your audience will just straight up tell you. This is your retention graph, the only metric YouTube really gives us that shows how people feel second by second as they watch your content. Every dip is a place where you lost someone, and every spike is a moment that's worth rewatching. And it's the spikes that really tell you something. For instance, where an education channel, and just take a look at where ours climb. It's every time we stop talking about the thing and actually show it step by step. The screen recordings, the walkthroughs, our retention spikes whenever we deliver value to you, the viewer. And that's the name of the whole game. Give people value and they'll stay. And that will beat any jump cut, anytime, any day. So there are 3 specific places where you will just bleed viewers. We'll call these zones, and I'll give you the edit that fixes each one. Zone 1 is the first 30 seconds of your video, which represents the single biggest drop in the entire video usually. The mistake is trying to win it with force, louder, faster, more. You spike and then you crash because honestly at that point in the video, there's nowhere to go but down. The fix is starting your video with something called a loop, and you can do this in a number of ways. For example, a question. You can open with a question in the first few seconds of your video, even if it's a weird one, and you can give people just a piece of the answer early on. That early answer will build viewers' trust, and it shows them that you will deliver on the promises that you made in the title and the thumbnail. There's actually countless ways you can open and close a loop. Just take a look at one of the masters of this technique, Ryan Trahan.
So let's see if it's legit.
There's the loop opened. Will this $5 TikTok microphone actually sound any good? Now watch how fast he closes it.
I'm just gonna plug this in and you should notice a difference in the audio. Listen closely. All right, what do we think? Do we think this is pretty good audio?
Question asked, question answered. Just a few seconds later, he doesn't draw something out for the sake of getting his watch time up, because this kind of fast payoff is exactly what can earn your viewers' trust and hold their attention for the remainder of the video. Your first frame can be a visual hook, and before a word is even spoken, a question is already being raised in the viewer's mind. These days, YouTube is very much an auto-playing platform, so if you can start to raise a question, even if the viewer has their sound off, the chances of them clicking into the video to get an answer to that question go up significantly. So try not opening with your face mid-sentence. Instead, open your video with a shot of something that makes them go, wait, what is this? Not me, of course. People have that reaction to my face as it is. Then add movement in the edit. And by movement, I don't mean shake the camera around and have millions of graphics fly in. But even if the camera never moved, you edit it to have the camera maybe push in just a little bit, just a few percentage points. A static shot says nothing's happening, but a slow movement in, a slow push means, ooh, something's coming. And leave yourself one beat, a single low note, and a breath of near silence to make the viewer subconsciously lean in. Not to fill space, but to leave a gap that the viewer wants to close. So open with one question, one slow push in, and one held beat, and then close one small loop to earn the viewer's attention. And that cliff I showed you at the very start, I still haven't told you the whole fix yet. That loop is still open. Remember that move earlier that I said was the opposite of what creators normally get taught? Well, this is zone 2, the thing that trips up so many creators. Everyone assumes people leave when the video gets too weighed down with details, so they cut it up real tight to keep it snappy. But in reality, that thinking is completely backwards. People click on a video because they want the substance. They want to see a person actually do a thing. If you trim too recklessly, you may cut out the very thing someone was hoping to gain from watching the video. Where people are actually leaving is the setup that you build in front of all of the stuff that's in the video. So many creators front load context and caveats and background before they've earned any of the viewer's trust. So before I show you, let me give you some background. That's not wrong, and we're not getting rid of that, but we are moving it. Get to the thing first. The context can come in once people have decided that yes, they are going to stay. Have you ever seen a movie that opens on some impossible moment and then suddenly the frame goes black and it cuts to 3 weeks earlier? That's basically what we're doing here. We grab attention first, and then we peel back the story second, and here's how you can do that in your videos. For example, we can start mid-action. Don't build to the thing, but drop people in and explain along the way. What you're literally doing is what they came for, so lead with that as much as you can. Of course, starting mid-action doesn't work for all videos. For some videos, a slow build-up might actually be preferable. There's infinite ways to open a video and grab attention at the same time, but the underlying rule doesn't change. People will sit through whatever setup setup you've created as long as they trust that the payoff is coming. Starting mid-action is just one way to do it. Another is to promise something up front that viewers trust is going to pay off soon. Take this video. Why Adobe is finished. It doesn't drop the big bomb, the reveal up front, but it promises that big bomb up front, and along the way, the creator opens and closes smaller loops. A shift in company policy here, a lawsuit there. Each loop pays off individually, building towards the big promise. In this case, the promise being, I'm going to tell you what Adobe's done to earn the title of this video. However you hold that attention, the footage has to stay alive, and here's two ways to do that. You can use this editing trick to give a talking section a bit more momentum, the cut in and the cut back. A cut in will jump you closer to a keyword or phrase. It basically says, listen to this. A cut back returns you to the wide shot, two simple cuts that give an otherwise talking head video a bit more momentum. This is one of the most efficient moves in editing, and you'll find yourself using it constantly. And when you're explaining, cut to action. Whatever it is they came to watch you do, that's what should be on camera during those stretches. You want to avoid being a talking head that's just kind of narrating a thing. In fact, many of the top creators on YouTube are only really in their own videos in that capacity for like a third of the time. But which thing do you build your video around? Well, you don't have to guess. You can actually open up vidIQ and let it show you. It can show you the topics that your niche over-indexes on right now. Zone 3 is the middle. That hook may have bought you 30, 60 seconds, but after that point, people will slowly start to drift off. Two things fix it. The first is the loop tactic from earlier, but now on a timer. Every 60 to 90 seconds, you open a new one. Here's where it gets worse, but that's not even the real problem. You do that before the last loop even closes. This means you're always one open question ahead of the viewer. The second thing you can do is keep the screen alive in between, and this is where the traditional advice kind of gets things wrong. It tells you to never stop stimulating, so you're always piling on more graphics and effects until the video becomes, honestly, at least for me, exhausting to watch. But that's not really the actual goal. The goal should be that the video doesn't feel lifeless. A static frame is reason to leave, but honestly, so is wall-to-wall noise. What you want is the right move in the right spot, and here's some examples of moves you can make and when to make them. You don't need to have moved the camera, instead animate it during the edit, and two moves cover most of it. I mentioned this earlier, but you have scale, where you can push in slowly to build tension, or you can pull out to have a big reveal, or you can pan, drifting across a shot so it doesn't feel lifeless, going nice and slow and steady, because moving too fast will feel cheap. And if you have still images in your video, you can animate those as well. If you use a photo or a screenshot in your video and it's just sitting there, that's potentially just a dead spot, the visual equivalent of dead air. Keyframe it so it scales maybe 15 to 20% during its entire duration on screen. And now, nothing in your video feels static, but it also doesn't feel frantic. As viewers, we do like to see the video flow and have new things get added to the screen, so rotate your footage types between A-roll, B-roll, and motion graphics. A change of what's on the screen grabs the eye automatically, so use that. A point that drags on if you're just a talking head on camera can land more dramatically if you use a motion graphic. And you also want to be thinking about your viewers' eye lines during the edit. Instead of showing everything flat, you can darken or blur everything that is around your subject. You can shift the hue, pan towards a certain direction, make your subject glow. You can be in control of where your viewer wants to look at any given time, and that keeps them from drifting. And this last one is something you may or may not have already noticed. Yes, visuals do hold people's attention, but you can also give those visuals on screen a sound. Something slides in, it gets a whoosh. Something gets highlighted, it gets a tick. Sound is a whole second sense that you get to use to hold your viewer's attention. And 3 sounds can be used to convey emotion: risers, hits, and drones. A riser builds tension during a reveal, a hit releases it, and a drone sits under a darker, mysterious beat. Obviously only use these if something is actually going to happen, otherwise it'll just stop working. Music can also be a great tool rather than just an afterthought. You can match a mood to a section of the video, and then you can change the track if the topic changes. Or you could do my favorite, where you dramatically pause the music when you're about to say the big thing that you've been waiting to say. But stuff like that, if you use it just one time, it can change the entire feeling and vibe of a moment in a video. You can also give your viewers a break by just holding it for a beat after you land a big point. But what I'm saying is that wall-to-wall stimulation is a great way to lose people. Quick gut check though. Go back to your last video and count how many of these you actually did. Most creators do 1 or maybe 2 of these, and that could be a good reason why the middle of your video tends to sag. And even if you implement a lot of these changes today for your next upload, you may still find that your videos are struggling a little bit when it comes to retention. I just want to say that's okay. This is going to take practice. This is the part of video editing where your voice starts to shine through beyond just the things you said to your camera. But Alright, here's a quick recap. You have the cold open cliff, where you invite a viewer in with a loop and a slow push in. The setup sag, where you start mid-action and lead with what they came in for. And finally, the mid-roll sag, where you reset the clock, keep everything moving, and use sound to increase your dynamics. Every move here is about doing one thing, and that is keeping people watching for as long as possible. And if you string enough of these together, there's a good chance that when your video sags, there's nowhere for people to drift off to. Of course, some of the things I've said here today might be a bit intimidating, especially in the realm of motion graphics, so we have a video right here. It's 2026. If you are intimidated by some of these tactics, then you could watch this, because if you're looking for a bit of a shortcut, we have you covered.